Let us look at the frameworks of compensation policy and reward system. This unit helps us understand how compensation policies are designed at both the big picture level, that is the macro level, and the company level, which is the micro level. It also shows us how these policies tie in with the overall HR strategy and what kind of a tug of war happens between management and employees. Plus, we also get to learn about some real life examples like the seventh pay commission and even how the newspaper industry handles wage revisions. So, welcome to the rapid roundup video of Unit 2. This is the MMPH 7 rapid roundup series that you are watching. Let us start with the macro level compensation framework. Okay, you can think of it like a cricket board deciding the general rules of how matches have to be played, not just by one team but across the country how it has to be played. Similarly, macro framework, which is the external environment, includes government policies and labor laws that guide how salaries have to be structured across industries. So these could include things like Minimum Wages Act so that nobody is underpaid, Equal Remuneration Act so that men and women are paid equally, and things like Provident Fund, gratuity, bonus, such things. So it is basically the government saying, boss, no matter which company you are in, at least follow these minimum standards of paying, like that. Then let us move on to the micro framework or the micro level policies. This is where individual organizations get into the game. So imagine a company like say Infosys or TCS. They will have to figure out in their own way what salary package they have to give, what bonuses they have to give, what benefits they are going to give their employees, and so on, based on their goals as well as their budget. They think about things like attracting good talent, staying competitive in the market, following labor laws, and keeping employees happy without breaking their own bank account. And oh, there's one more thing. If what is it? Unions. So Infosys or TCS doesn't have unions, but we know a lot of organizations in India they have unions. And these unions also have to bargain and negotiate. It is kind of like your parents discussing your curfew timings with you, timeout timings. For me, because when I was young, it used to be like by 6 o'clock. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The management and the employees, they usually have very much different perspectives when it comes to compensation. Obviously, right? What does the management want? They usually want to control cost and keep profits high. So they might say, oh my God, if I give more salary, then my budget, what will happen to my budget? Right? Budget ka kya hoga? Things like that. Meanwhile, employees or the unions will say, Sir, have you seen the price of onions? We need a raise. Otherwise our family, our daily lives won't go, right? So there is often a push and a pull. Management looks at what the company can afford while employees argue based on inflation or family budgets and living costs. Both sides have valid points. I'm not saying that the management is wrong to think like that or the employees are wrong to think like that. Both sides have valid points, but they often see the world very differently. So there is often a bit of like a tug of war ഒരു വടംവലിയാണ് അവിടെ negotiating. It's kind of like collective bargaining, negotiating. It's like a vegetable market, but rather than vegetables, here it is with spreadsheets and HR policies instead of tomatoes and onions. That is the only difference. So basically, it is that these compensation policies, these frameworks, they have to consider the perspectives of both the management who wants to have control over their cost and the labor who want fair wages so that they can keep moving, they can keep moving their lives forward. Right. Like say for example, if the work that you do, if the salary that you are getting is not enough for even have putting petrol in your bike for a whole month, or eating 3 square meals a day, or helping your child get an education in a decent school, then and by decent school I don't mean private schools or anything. Even government schools are also fine, but if they have to have clean uniforms and adequate writing materials, things like that, won't you uh, double think about going there again, right? If your salary doesn't help you live. just the way. Now, now let us talk about how pay design should align with the organization as well as the job design. So basically, the salary structure has to make sense with the roles that the people are doing. Say, for example, if someone is handling a very complex task or managing a team, then their pay should reflect that. Also, it should match the company's goals. If a company wants innovation, then it has to reward creativity. The salary structure has to have a component, right? And if it wants performance, then naturally it has to give performance bonuses, right? You just can't give everyone the same salary and expect some magic to happen. If the peon and the manager gets the same wage, do you think a manager would be happy? Right? That's the whole thing. Speaking of HR strategy, compensation cannot live in isolation, right? Agreed? It has to go hand in hand with with things like recruitment, performance appraisal, training, even promotions. Imagine you offer great pay, but you have no career growth. We'll definitely run from there. जरूर भागेंगे वहां से. Why? Because nowadays it is not simply about that paycheck. It is about that paycheck, but it is not just about that paycheck. Right? You need growth. You need to feel like you are making a change. Then only we feel like working there. Otherwise, we look for opportunities elsewhere. It has been the case with me. Whenever I feel like the job is not taking me anywhere, I look for a switch. Honestly. Now, similarly, if your salary system is awesome, but you are seeing that there is unfairness in promotion, people are going to lose trust. You are going to lose trust, right? If you see that it is only the managers blood relatives who are getting promoted into big higher positions, will you like it? No. So everything has to be integrated and aligned. Now let us shift the to the public policy changes, public policy challenges. Government makes policies with the intention of fairness, like minimum wages or equal pay. But the implementation of these act is where the struggle begins. For example, what is fair wage in Mumbai might not be the same in a small town in, say, Kerala or in Bihar, right? Or I should say the opposite, right? What is enough or what is considered as a fair pay in a remote rural setup in India will not be a fair pay in metro cities, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, right? How many of you has Googled if I get 10 lakh salary in Kerala, how much will I need it to get in Bangalore or Mumbai to maintain the same standard of living kind of things in Kora? I do it. Whenever I get an offer, especially from outside Kerala, since I am right now in Kerala, I check whether that whatever salary that they are offering is worth it or not, whether I'm going to keep, whether I'll be I'll come down in my standard of living or go up in my standard of living. I always check, and with that check I some most often I realize that it is not worth making that shift, and that is why I'm still in Kerala. Anyway, so what were we saying? Yeah, the public policy changes, so the implementation is where all the struggle is. And also, there is the issue of budget. Like public sector companies will want to give higher salaries, but sometimes governments just can't afford it. So they have to also juggle between employee expectations and their financial limits. It is like kind of like trying to make biryani for 20 people, but you only have ingredients that are meant for 10. But അഞ്ചപ്പം കൊണ്ട് 5000 പേരെ ഊട്ടാനായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ക്രിസ്തു ഒന്നുമല്ലല്ലോ, അല്ലേ? വി ആർ നോട്ട് ജീസസ് ക്രൈസ്റ്റ് ടു feed 5,000 people with just five rotis, with five appam. I think that's how it's said, like that. So, but we have to try that way. Even companies face challenges in implementing the ideal compensation policies. There are practical issues, like there is always going to be a gap between theory and practice. Like, for example, setting performance pay, that performance based pay, this sounds so much awesome. It sounds very great in paper, right? On paper it is like a very good strategy, but how exactly are you going to measure the creativity of a person or teamwork fairly? practically it is difficult, right? Also, legal compliance, gender pay equality, keeping up with market trends, all these things can give HR teams a real headache. And let us not forget about the reward systems. The heart of the reward system, any reward system, is an idea that if you work well, then you should also be rewarded well. And these rewards can be monetary, like say bonuses, or non-monetary, like recognitions or promotions. In my first organization, it used to be uh, some certificates of working well. So most month I used to get one certificate, but by the time there is a appraisal discussion, those certificates will not even have the what you can say value of blank paper. It used to be like that at that time while I was budding. But designing the right system requires balancing fairness, motivation, and financial feasibility. So it is a bit like cooking. If you add too much salt, your dish is going to be ruined, and if you add too little salt, then it's going to be bland. So you have to get that recipe of your reward system also just right. Now comes the interesting part. I promised you we are going to look at the real world things. So let us look at the seventh pay commission. Okay, this was like a giant HR team deciding how much the central government employees should get. So, seventh pay commission is all about how much the central employees should get, that decision. So, in this pay commission, they introduced a new pay matrix. They set minimum as well as maximum salaries, and they also revised allowances. And the good part, the government employees, they were happy because their salaries went up, so their job satisfaction improved. And the not so good part, the cost to the government. This seventh pay commission, the salary revision because of the seventh pay commission, it cost the government money. And some employees felt that the benefits were not equally distributed also. Plus, implementing all these changes was not at all easy. So, to put things into perspective, let us consider the newspaper industry now. Let us understand the wage practices in the newspaper industry. So, newspaper industry, this is one of the industries where wage revision has always been very tricky. Why? Because there are many different roles. Like we have journalists, we have editors, we have printing staff, not to mention the delivery people. You might have amazing journalists, but if you don't have delivery people who are going to deliver your paper home to home, office to office. Mm. So, if you think about it, na, journalists you need to get the news, editors you need to get the whatever the journalists are bringing in to edit it properly, printing staff, you need delivery people, you need everybody. Very important. Can you think about? So, we saw these four categories of workers in the newspaper industry. Can you think of anybody as less important than the others? No. Everybody is important, and they know also. So what? Everybody want fair pay. So to decide wages, they sometimes use formulas like the Ackroyd formula and all, which calculates the need-based minimum wages by considering things like food, rent, clothing, and so on. It is quite scientific, but the thing is that not everyone agrees on the numbers all the time. So to summarize, what have we learned so far? Compensation policy is not just about numbers, it is all about balancing fairness, motivation, strategy, legal compliance, and financial limits. Whether you are the HR manager of a MNC or if you are working in a government department, understanding this whole compensation framework will help you create a system that is fair, motivating, as well as sustainable. And let's be honest, as future HR professionals, one day you are going to be on the side that decides salaries. So, it is better to know how complicated it can get when you try to keep both managers and employees happy. That was the rapid roundup of Unit 2. Because the aim was to cover important concepts in the shortest possible time, I haven't gone in depth on any particular topic. But if you need any topic to, more explanation on any topic from this unit, mention the same in the comments below. Till then, happy learning.